Hello everyone and welcome to SwitchUp. In today's video we're going to look at the 10 best games as per their review scores on the channel for last month, the month of October. Now we did 17 full reviews on the channel last month, and with about half the month gone, I don't honestly think I can remember a month where we'd given so many poor scores by that point. You had 30s and 40s with the highest game getting about 60 something. Thankfully things picked up after that and some good games came out, and as I said, these are the 10 best scores. I will put the links to all 17 reviews in that top pinned comment if you've missed anything, and if you are a bit of a masochist, the bottom 3 reviews are the ones that got very low scores if you want to see what they were. Okay, with all that said then, let's get started. The 10th highest score for the month then came from the game The Red Lantern. This is a roguelite survival game set in Alaska, although it doesn't quite play out the way you may expect. For quite a large part, the game is actually on rails. You move via a sled and your husky dogs pull you along, with you having little to no control over the movement of these parts. You will stop at times, having to start fires and cook food for both yourself and your dogs, and there are also what's known as instances where you will need to make a choice which will affect the story. Due to it being a roguelite, there are permanent skills that will build up across your gameplay sessions, such as earning the ability to light a fire without needing the necessary resources, thus making this part of the game a bit easier in subsequent runs. All in all, it's a surprisingly relaxing game with nice animations, but that real lack of control and the fact it is quite short meant it got a SwitchUp score of 67%. The 9th best score for the month then came from Ben 10 Power Trip. This is a 3D platformer based of course on the popular character and sees you traversing that 3D world, partaking in a number of missions, most of which centre around fetch quests. There are a number of different monster forms for Ben to transform into, and the game includes quality of life features such as switching between these on the fly and a fast travel system that makes the world quite enjoyable to explore. The game is also available in co-op and does seem to tread the line well between a child enjoying the game and the adult that may be playing with them having enough fun, relatively speaking, for it to be a good time for both. There are some performance issues and some missed opportunities where perhaps the gameplay is simplified too much even with its target audience in mind, but on the whole not a bad game, and it got a SwitchUp score of 68%. The next game for the month then was Forgone. This is a 2D action platformer with a hub area and a variety of weapons that you can equip to your character, as well as a skill tree of abilities. Now most people looking at this game without any prior knowledge would probably assume it's a roguelite just because that seems to be the way the industry is going these days, but this isn't the case with this game and the levels are all predetermined. It has a nice mixture of intense action, fantastic boss fights and stellar audio work. However, on the negative side, it is very similar to a game called Dead Cells already on the Switch, with the exception being that it is a roguelite, but in terms of the basic mechanics, they are incredibly similar. There are also some performance issues, with certain levels affected more so than others, and Mark found that despite the fact that the levels were pre-designed and not randomly generated, some of the level design was a bit weak, unfortunately. All in all, not a terrible game by any stretch of the imagination, but one where the words missed opportunity seem to really run true. It got a SwitchUp score of 69%. The 7th best score for the month came from Oceanhorn 2. This is a 3D adventure game which now joins its predecessor on the Switch, whereas the first game was a love letter to games like Zelda, done from a top-down or isometric viewpoint. This one pays homage more to the 3D Zelda games such as Ocarina of Time, or more so Breath of the Wild, in being in 3D. There'll be a lot of familiar gameplay ideas here that if you love, you'll enjoy, finding chests of items, engaging in combat, exploring the world, and it does bring a few different ideas to the party, such as having comrades or companions that join you and you can direct them to help you with combat or to help you with solving particular puzzles. The music is a high point of the game and is really quite beautiful, and the game itself looks lovely in terms of the overall world, albeit some of the animations on closer inspection don't hold up quite so well. It does what it does fairly well, and if you enjoy games like Zelda you'll have fun here, but it doesn't bring too much new to the party, plus it is very expensive. All in all though, it got a SwitchUp score of 74%. Coming in at number 6 for the month then, we had Ys Origin, an ARPG dungeon crawler and the second game in the Ys series to hit the Switch after Ys 8, and with a third game, Ys 9, on the way. The combat in this game is a lot of fun, albeit it can get a bit repetitive at times, and it's assisted by very good controls. The RPG elements work very well, and there's definitely a lot to unlock, and it sells for a very reasonable price. It perhaps doesn't look as visually impressive as other games of this nature, but there's definitely a lot to like with this game, and it got a SwitchUp score of 79%. In 5th place for the month then, we had 9 Monkeys of Shaolin, which is a beat 'em up game heavily inspired by both the Chinese fantasy genre of wuxia, I've probably said that wrong, but also 1970s kung fu movies. Your primary weapon in this game is a staff, and you can upgrade this or find new ones as you play through, each with their own passive skills that will help you along the way. You will also be able to find equipment that does the same thing as you go. You can pick which level you want to play on the overworld map, and don't have to play every level in a run to finish the game, although some of the aforementioned equipment will be locked behind those levels, so completing them will unlock it for you. You have your strong and weak attacks as usual in a beat 'em up, but you don't have a jump move, something that I always find quite difficult to deal with in a beat 'em up, much preferring there to be one, but at the same time it was a nice change of pace because of this. It does include multiplayer, both local and online, although I couldn't find an online match at the time of the review. The local co-op is okay, although I do feel there are better options for this particular aspect on the Switch, and I've actually done a best beat 'em ups list. I'll stick a link to that in the top pinned comment. Visually, the game goes for quite an interesting claymation look, which looks absolutely beautiful at times and a little underwhelming at others, but on the whole a game I very much enjoyed, and it got a SwitchUp score of 80%. In 4th place for the month was Green Hell. This is again a survival game based this time in the jungle, but this is probably the harshest survival game I've ever seen, and I say seen because I didn't even play it. I watched Mark play it whilst he was reviewing it for us. You will need to gather resources, craft items, concoct recipes, and basically keep yourself alive as a host of snakes, poisonous frogs, and pretty much anything else you can think of tries to kill you. Just watching Mark play it, I felt like I needed some bug spray and a nice bottle of Lucozade just to keep myself going. It includes a host of modes and difficulty levels for you to try, and the audio in particular is really quite stellar, really bringing that world to life. It has to be said that it won't be for everyone. That high level of difficulty or the harsh demands it puts on the player will really put some people off, but if you are up for the fight, then the chances are that you will absolutely adore this game and will be playing for the foreseeable future. Personally, I'm in the former camp and would rather just watch Mark try to karate chop a snake in the face before inevitably getting bitten and dying, but all in all though, this game got a SwitchUp score of 80%. Heading into the top 3 now then, and in 3rd place for the month was the game ScourgeBringer. This is a roguelite action platformer where you will need to explore each single screen of a level, becoming locked within that screen as soon as you enter and having to beat a set amount of enemies before you can move on. You will find perks and abilities as you play which will make your character stronger, and you'll also have a skill tree which will unlock permanent upgrades across subsequent runs, again making them that bit easier. Fairly standard roguelite fare. Where this one really shone though was in its combat system, which was just so incredibly fluid. You would fly across the screen, barely touching the floor at times as you defeated a number of enemies, and defeating enemies would earn you blood, which would make you stronger, and you could then spend it in shops to buy better weapons or those aforementioned upgrades. There were bosses to fight before you could move on to the next level, and these were all about pattern memorization, and it was just a great example of how much fun the roguelike genre can be. Definitely up there for me with some of the greats of the genre. This has a demo on the eShop, so it might be worth checking that out, or check the full review out in the top pinned comment, but it got a SwitchUp score of 85%. And in second place then, and it seems as if October was survival month because this is the Survivalists. This game comes from the people behind the Escapist game series and sees you marooned on a tropical island needing to craft items and weapons to keep yourself safe. I think I've said that sentence about 3 times during this video. This one plays from a top-down view as opposed to the first-person view in the other games in this video, and is perhaps a bit more whimsical in nature, although no less brutal. Again though, once you get on board with the survival mechanics, it definitely is a lot of fun. There is co-op as well in this particular game, which is great, and the visuals and the audio are incredibly charming. There are some minor control quirks, and it is quite a slow burner. It takes a while to get into, but once you do, this one is a great deal of fun. It got a SwitchUp score of 86%. And number 1 for the month, there could only be one winner, and it was Pikmin 3 Deluxe. This game of course came out back in 2013 for the Wii U, and this Deluxe edition includes the DLC that was made available for that particular game as part of the package, as well as the ability to play in co-op in story mode, something the original game didn't have. It is local only, there is no online unfortunately, but it also comes with a few other quality of life tweaks, and it controls very well either with the analog controls or using the Joy-Con as a pointer reminiscent of the Wii remote back in the first few games. The world built in this game looks just as beautiful today as it did back then, absolutely stunning environment to explore, and that real-time strategy really is great fun, even for people perhaps that aren't really into RTS games as standard. My wife for example absolutely adores this game, but she wouldn't ever dream of playing any other RTS. The only real downside to this package is the price, which at £50 for a game, let's be fair, that is 7 years old now, even with a few tweaks, is just a bit too expensive. £40 I think would have been a fairer price, so perhaps look out for the physical version, which is available for around that bracket if you are lucky. A wonderful game though, and it was the top scoring game for the month of October, getting a SwitchUp score of 88%. So there you have it, there are the 10 best scoring games for the month of October. A slow burning month, but it definitely picked up towards the end. As I said though, there are 17 reviews that we did last month. Links to all of those reviews or relevant videos will be down in that top pinned comment. There are reviews of some pretty big games down there not mentioned in this video, such as Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2, FIFA 21 and G.I. Joe. Please do remember to give this video a like if you like what you've just seen. A quick thank you to our Patreons as always for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, stay safe of course, and until next time, happy gaming.